Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Voice of Guo on June 27th, 2020. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, and click the bell so you know the next time we upload a video. And don't forget to leave a comment down below and let us know what you think about what is happening in China. Now, first news of the day, let's bring our attention to Hong Kong about Hong Kong people demanding to have a peaceful march of pro-democracy, but was shut down by the police anyway. Let's look at some details.
Hong Kong police dismissed request to hold July 1st march. Police in Hong Kong announced on Saturday the annual pro-democracy rally, which takes place every year on July 1st, has been banned for the first time in 17 years. The protest rally has been taking place every year since the handover of Hong Kong in 1997, and this year took aim at China's national security law, which human rights group fear could smother the semi-autonomous region's freedoms. China announced a draft national security law in May that could be imposed across its territory. The sweeping bill, which could bypass Hong Kong's legislature, could mean that mainland China would implant its national security force to operate in the semi-autonomous region for the first time. Hong Kong police said the rally may pose a severe threat to the safety of other participants, citizens, journalists, and the police officers, and you do not have the capacity to control their acts. Authorities said the rally would exceed the rule in place to stem the spread of the CCP virus, whereby gathering has been limited to 50 people. Since the pandemic struck, police has repeatedly rejected the obligations to hold public assemblies, including the 30-year-old commemoration to honor victims of the 1989 Tiananmen massacre. The Civil Human Rights Front vice convener, Mr. Eric Line, had expected the authority to ban the march. It's certainly a political decision by the authority to present a false appearance of no objection to the national security law by the public on July 1st, and of avoiding a big crowd against the government that can be captured by the foreign media, Eric Line said.
Alright, let's head to the next news, which is also about Hong Kong. Christians in Hong Kong are standing up to the brutal Communist Party and denouncing the national security law that is aimed at Hong Kong.
Several cross-denominations in Christianity agree on a joint statement that strongly opposes the legalization of abusive laws. The Hong Kong version of the National Security Law is about to be reviewed and forcibly passed by the National People's Congress under the control of the Chinese Communist Party. Christians of different denominations published a full-page advertising joint statement in Apple Daily today to express their strong opposition, saying that as Christians, we must work hard to pursue righteousness. Although our force may be weak, we will never be silent. The statement criticized the national security law implemented in mainland China for 27 years and saying that it uses the evil law to legitimize the government's abuse of power, and denounced that the national security law was used to suppress and punish dissidents, right defenders, and people who expose the truth of society. The statement also pointed out that the National People's Congress rapid proposal to establish the Hong Kong version of the national security law is to show that the regime has suppressed the voice of all opposition with greater and unreasonable tyranny. The promise of a high degree of autonomy is destroyed with Hong Kong's foundation as an international financial center and as a free city. The statement was initiated by Chen Jianrong of the Evangelical Association and Yang Shurong of the Broadcasting Conference. The title was "A Group of Christians of Different Denominations Strongly Oppose the Establishment of the Hong Kong National Security Act." The advertisement is black and white, and the familiar Bible stand is printed to the right, reading, "But let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream," from the book Amos chapter 5, Verse 24. Lin Rongji, the former manager of the Causeway Bay bookstore, opened the Zhongshan Causeway Bay bookstore in Taiwan earlier. Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen also sent these two congratulatory messages.
Alright, thank you for the reporting. we can see that the Christians in Hong Kong have more balls and more courage than all of the Christians combined in the West who cannot even stand up against Antifa and the rioters who are burning down churches and businesses. Now, let's bring our attention back to Beijing, China, and take a look at the virus outbreak that is currently taking place in Beijing.
A Chinese writer published Yanjiao, 300,000 people like ants crawling towards Beijing on WeChat, which mentioned that during the second wave of the CCP virus, 300,000 Yanjiao workers would spend 50 minutes at the checkpoint when they entered Beijing to work and 4 hours to get home from work. No one expects this article was taken down by WeChat after 1 day of posting. Writer Liu Yuxin recently stated on WeChat that Yanjiang does not belong to Beijing but belongs to Hebei province. Because of cheap housing, the working population chooses to live in Yanjiao. Yanjiao is only a bridge away from Beijing. It takes 15 minutes to cross this 500-meter bridge because entering Beijing requires strict security checks. Yanjiao population must endure this way of living. However, since the outbreak of the second wave of the CCP virus, everyone who leaves Beijing needs to take the nucleic acid test. Later, the policy renewed, which only requires ID. Even under this operation, the checkpoints are swamped. 4 machines and 300,000 people led to a 4 kilometers long queue of buses and private cars before entering Yanjiao. The crowds were densely packed. They got off work at 6 p.m. and eventually entered Yanjiao around 10 p.m. Lee's article wrote, "At that moment, looking at the people waiting on the road, I think everyone is like an ant, slowly crawling back home after a long day of work." This article was removed in less than a day. The writer then made a statement on Weibo. "If I don't tell what I have experienced as a writer, then I should not be a writer, and my responsibilities are gone. I believe each voice is a part of a collective fight for justice. The more silent and timid we are, the more oppressed we will be."
Oh wow! Chinese writer standing up to the mob and defending this writer's his or her own freedom of expression. How noble! Now let's continue now let's continue the news and look at some more detailed data of what's happening for the CCP virus in Beijing. How many dead? How many diagnosed? Let's begin.
CCP virus outbreak spreads to Changping district. The first confirmed CCP virus case in Changping was reported. Up till now, the outbreak spreads to 11 districts of Beijing. According to CCP media, the couple ran a food vendor at Beijing Tiankelong supermarket. Neither of the couple was in contact with any confirmed case, nor did they go to epidemic areas such as Xinfadi Market and the Yuquan East Market. However, they tested positive on June 21st. It is speculated that they contracted CCP virus in a public restroom. It shows that now there is third-hand infection in Beijing. However, many netizens doubted speculation. Some quotes are, "Who spread the virus to the public restroom?" And "The couple were not the only ones who used the public restroom. This speculation is very sketchy."
Okay, now let's go to the next news regarding more information about the CCP virus situation in Beijing.
CCP's internal report: 25,000 cases diagnosed in Beijing, more than 2,000 deaths. On June 26th, netizens posted a secret report that allegedly came from inside the Chinese Communist Party. It was reported that as of 4 a.m. on the 26th in Beijing, 25,212 cases were diagnosed with 2,321 deaths. It has been said that the second wave of outbreaks in Beijing has already begun. The report mentioned that the epidemic data contains only about 70% of the entirety in Beijing due to the lack of access to data from particular hospitals, and that the infection data of some special department personnel are restricted to even medical institutions. In addition, this report also suggested that individuals should leave Beijing as soon as possible, and that if not able, people should stock up on food resources and isolate for the next few months, and so on. The report also mentioned that this epidemic throughout the country started slowly from the past winter, will gain more traction during summer, and gradually increase thereafter, with this year's autumn exhibiting a true catastrophic outbreak. Due to the CCP's black box operation procedure, it is currently impossible to confirm the origin and authenticity of this secret report from allegedly inside the CCP. However, the official data released by the mainland authorities has still always been questioned by foreign parties. The most suspicious part being the mobilization of numerous medical teams from other provinces in order to support Beijing, despite the fact that there were only 280 newly diagnosed cases. Officials revealed that the earliest aid to Beijing was a medical team of more than 70 people from the top 6 Class A hospitals in Wuhan. It is worth noting that these medical personnel did not come to support the nucleic acid detection force in Beijing, but are instead sent directly to major hospitals. Regarding the second outbreak of the Beijing epidemic, Gao Fu, director of the CCP Disease Control Center, stated earlier that the Beijing epidemic may not have occurred at the end of May or early June, and instead the estimation may have to be pushed forward 1 month. This may have some significance due to the yearly National People's Congress conference held around mid-May this year, and open the possibility for the participants to be the infection source. This information also seems to corroborate with some of the previous rumors and speculations about the Beijing epidemic. On June 24th, the official Weibo issued a rumor announcement in response to the epidemic at the 301 hospital, which triggered speculation. These speculations also include the suspicious movements of some CCP high-ranking officials who were suspected of leaving Beijing to avoid the epidemic.
All right. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not gonna believe those diagnosed numbers and death numbers coming out from the CCP. We know one thing that the CCP is good at is covering the truth. Okay, now let's look at some more news regarding what is happening in Beijing regarding testing.
A new wave of the CCP virus has hit Beijing. A nucleic acid testing program was introduced recently. The official number of increase of the 25th were 11 cases. However, some people tested negative at first. Some even ran for 4 tests before getting the correct result. On the 133rd Beijing Pandemic Control Press Conference, Deputy Secretary Peng Xinhuo claimed 11 newly reported cases. The 25th, 10 were under investigation, with 1 outstanding. The official number coming from the CCP has always been questionable due to their constant effort of lying to the public, as well as giving initial false results. According to CCTV News, Peng Xinhuo reported a 60-year-old woman to have received 4 negative results. The retired woman was put to quarantine due to close contact with confirmed cases from Xinfadi. The fever started on 16th of June. She was then transported to the hospital. Nevertheless, she has received 4 tests from 16th to 22nd of June, until the correct result came back positive on the 24th. Activist Yang Zhenqing tweeted, "Testing kit from the CCP are horrific. The problem of false diagnosis in Wuhan led to many deaths because patients weren't getting the treatment they needed. It was said in early February that the accuracy couldn't even reach 50%. Quoting Professor Yang Chen from the Chinese Academy of the Medical Science, nucleic acid testing gives merely a 30 to 50% of accuracy. The flaws were reported long ago. People have been suspecting the reason to be poorly manufacturing quality and substandard medical practice in sample collecting."
Okay, thank you very much for the reporting. We all know that made-in-China products are not really good in terms of quality, so I'm not really surprised that people are getting false results for the first 3 tries. Anyway, those are all of the news we want to present to you today. Tune in once again tomorrow. See you next time. Bye-bye.